Hello everyone and welcome to the latest Chris Chan update. It's the middle of August 2022 and as we all captively wait for the latest update on Chris, we have some new letters to go over. Despite what you may have heard, there is no news post the deferral of the grand jury. Some people are speculating that Chris might get out of jail. Some people are speculating that he's going to be put on probation for a year. Nothing is confirmed as of the time of this video's recording. And so while we wait, I'm going to go over the letters that were recently leaked by Kenneth Engelhart, owner and operator of The Onion Farms. This first letter was supposed to be a private letter from Chris to Kenneth, and he wrote it on August 2nd. Chris refers to the Sonichu fan project. That's a project that was being led by Kenneth, Helena, and Eels and Eggman. They were going to be remaking or redrawing or rebooting or whatever all of the Sonichu comics. So this is Chris's instructions for them. Greetings and kind blessings to all of ye on the Sonichu fan project. We are in continued appreciation and humbleness in ye all's support, kindness, and compassion during these times at present. We look forward to returning safely and well to ye all in the whole undivided earth, free of the toxic and evil individuals of the 1218 half being left behind. In any event now, we are planning ahead in our future works in these Sonichu books, along with the other godly duties in the times after our return home to the Sonichu temple, which shall be very good and well. I go ahead and announce to ye all our intentions to finish book number 0 HD, formerly book number 15, as well as the books 14 and over, in personal drawing and writing. If you've seen my Sonichu video, you would know that there's been very little progress made in those two books. Book 15 is kind of a remake of the original, except on the cover Chris is now a woman. So I guess Chris is just having them continue the series in his absence, although he says he's going to be home soon. So I guess it's not really in his absence. We also intend to expand on books 1 through 10, not 4. That's enough in itself. Although a book 4.1 may be personally drawn and written to add a few more self-stories, as we intend to be less self-inserting in the series and less as requited. Book number 4 is the collection of Chris's personal stories, which mostly were collected in previous volumes. It's kind of like a clip show episode. The HD versions of the past books entails better art drawing and quality, further details and plot hole fillers in relation to the events in addition to redraws of what was originally drawn/written. That makes it seem to me like Chris just wants Helena to redraw the old comics for him. For example, in Sonichu number 1, added shalt be the chronicling of Sonichu and Rosie as they had spent up to a year traveling with Kel and their developments in battles and fine-tuning their skills, powers, and abilities, which have transpired over the encounter with Natesirk in Book 0, and by Magichan's instruction to do before their return to Quickville, and departing from Kel's team and unto Christian Chan's in good faith and willingness. Also, this had transpired during the time of the manifestation of Blake Sonichu, as well as the creation of Metal Sonichu by Ren Skysoar, with support from Eggman as his hero and mentor, under the employ of Giovanni and Team Rocket. Skysoar and Eggman actually worked together and were side by side in that event of the encounter with Sonic and Sonichu. So when Chris originally wrote the Sonichu comics, he had Dr. Eggman from Sonic being the villain who invented a Metal Sonichu character, but then people told Chris that he might not be able to get the comic published if he used copyrighted characters. So he instead created Ren Skysoar, who was a stand-in for Eggman. Chris then stopped caring about this whole copyrighted character thing, so now he has to go back and retcon that Ren Skysoar and Dr. Eggman both exist, and that Skysoar was there during this battle in the old Sonichu comics. To note, most Sonichus and Rosechus, counting Sonichu Prime and Rosie Rosechu Prime, and the personally chronicled Special Sonichus and Rosechus, they all stand at 3 feet, 5 inches tall, not including the ears, and Sonic is about 3 feet, 2 inches tall. And when we, meaning Chris and the other personalities in his head, are in our Sonichu form, we go from 5'11 to 3'5 as well. Remember this detail, as a Sonichu's ears are 7 inches long from base to tip. The HD books shall be worked on in collaboration, personally, with those amongst ye all with the drawing skills and heartfelt, compassionate care and chronicling. We shall type the stories after returning home, in extended and greater detail, and this does not entail any X-rated content within. We are intending to keep our Prime timeline, and 1C211987 universe, canon pages at a constant rating of TVY7, and some above within reason and requirement of the chronicling art and stories respectively. And from our writings, the best selected artists from amongst thee shall redraw the pages for these HD books with some freedoms, but sticking, mainly, to that which is written by our hands, as well as direct and telepathic direction and input from our Magichan Sonichu. I was joking before about Chris' multiple personality thing, but I haven't seen him refer to himself as multiple people in a while, unless he is, like, pretending that he's currently being possessed by, like, a Sonichu or a Magichan. But if he's now referring to Magichan in the third person, I'm not sure who the other person in the we is. All of ye shalt find us to be more kind and forgiving than in others' misconceptions of us. Good grief to them. We shalt work with ye as ye work with us as thou will. I spoke too soon in my last video about being glad that Chris wasn't using any Middle English translations, saying yow, thou, ye, art. He's gotta overuse it now. We art kind and fun like Neptune, goddess Purple Heart, or Uzame, goddess Orange Heart, and we exercise to maintain that of ourselves in constant action, even when feeling fatigued. Anyway, everyone involved shalt be given credit, and this is a volunteer gig of soul and passion. Any possible payments that can out of any profit shalt be considered genuinely, and distributed at early possible times. So you ain't getting paid for this, Helena. We shalt draw the cover art for each of these updated earlier books personally. So Chris is going to write and draw the covers, other people are going to do the interior art. Also, among the future drawn written books shalt be spotlight issues and supplemental stories/details. On that, Wild Sonichu does not have a country bumpkin accent or voice. Any and all animated shows of our personal input and collaborative manifestation shalt have personally selected voice actors, but that's later on. Although, to state, if we can hire her, and more than appropriate, Tara Strong would be perfect for Bubbles Rosechew. Her voice is slightly deeper than Teenage Bubbles from that episode of original Powerpuff Girls. Just saying. Tara Strong, of course, most famously voices Twilight Sparkle and Timmy Turner and Harley Quinn. So, like, think of those types of voices for Bubbles. With that stated, consider that, for yourselves, an exercise in thy meditative links with this timeline and this universe, 1C211987's C197's half of this that's the worst way you could possibly word that, because 1C211987 is the combined universe, and C197 is the half of the universe that is the half that makes up that combined universe. So you don't need to say the long number one, you just gotta say the C197 part. So, meditative links with C197 of this very Earth in contemplating how to redraw right Sonichu book number 1, to impress us with how thou put such great care and love into thy work. Thy other past arts shall also be considered. As previously stated, if thou chooses to volunteer, the guideline, essentially, is, if it cannot be shown on daytime Nickelodeon or daytime Cartoon Network, then it does not fly, and heart and soul is key with the emotions and dialogue and content. And we like continuity. There is to be no blood shown, nor private parts. Also, out of the chaotic combo, only Angelica Rosechew does not have spikes on her back, and she and Punchy Sonichu do not have a tail. Also for reference, Rosie Rosechew has the spikes on her back. She does not have a tan belly. Her front fur is all Diva Pink, and she has a pair of yellow stripes, since she was a Raichu, on her back in the similar way as Sonichu's brown stripes. For accurate references, look at the amiibo figures we have crafted of Sonichu, Rosie, and the others. Very important! This is not a reboot of absolutely any form, shape, or matter. This is extensive updates and expansions that are long overdue for the past books, as well as a continuation, with additional details, chroniclings, and stories that had not yet been touched upon personally, along with the catching up stories and details in present tense events and stories. We can't stress the above paragraph enough, and after updating the books 1 through 10, we shall greatly consider continuing collaborations with ye all selected and involved in the present and future books, or stories/stories within each. We dare state we shall want an Autobot experiment with the art for Autobot Sonichu Spotlight book. He's gonna make a book for his car, and the team in Quickville, as well as, likely, that for Autobot Chris Chan as well, since on Cybertron, she personally worked on Sunshu in upgrades and origin details. We shall write/type all of that out as well. So kind of like how Chris made a My Little Pony issue of Sonichu, he's gonna make a Transformers one about his car. To close this letter, for now, we include additional details of Team Rocket and Natesurk for thy reference. Natesurk was an orphan after losing his parents, Mary and Thomas Randolph, at the age of 5 years old in New Jersey's Gotham City. He became a street smart— wait, hold on. Thomas is Thomas Wayne, and Mary is definitely supposed to be Martha Wayne, because they're in Gotham. I get it. Natesurk is a Batman analogy. He became a street smart one, and left the city. On his path, some Team Rocket grunts had him enlisted and taken to their base in Virginia, south of DC. So that makes Team Rocket like Liam Neeson's character in Batman Begins. They're gonna train the evil Batman. Now, Giovanni had already set up his organization by 1998 and went worldwide, and he sometimes takes his personal jet or teleports with the help of one of the souped-up psychic Pokemon of theirs to frequent around. Giovanni was impressed with Natesurk's spunk and took an innate liking to his youthful, vengeful soul, and he adopted him. This was back in 1998, and Natesurk was about 10 years old, and a rookie at the time. Giovanni and his cohorts almost spoiled him, and they set him up to be a Pokemon trainer and getting his own team and badges. He set out in 2000. His starter? ? I don't think that's supposed to be a question. I think he actually doesn't know. Enter his rival, Kel, as she was starting out too. And our had on the American pallet town. What? And our had on— and our bad? What? He's saying that Kel left from the American version of Pallet Town. For it actually was a small town like Pallet in Virginia, southwest of the city of Quickville, which, by the way, is located in known on 1218 Earth as Pebble Beach, Virginia. Anyway, the reason why her fated starter was the very Pichu that becomes Rosy Rosechew Prime. The Pokemon lab thereabout had the 3 elemental starters, and 2 other new trainers took the grass and water ones, and Natesurk stole the fire one. That's kind of like what happened in the real Pokemon anime. And Professor Pine, working with the other professors, including Oak, had recently found and took in the Pichu, as he was not feeling well, and nursed him back to recovery. Keep in mind, Rosechew was born a male Pichu. That is a very convoluted backstory in Sonichu canon. Kel arrives, and the Pichu and Kel felt mutual, soulful vibes, so she started with him. Kel and Natesurk crossed paths the number of times on the journey for badges and development along the US Eastern Coast states. Her badge in Quickville was her 8th badge, and the Pokemon League is stationed in DC. Natesurk had ditched his fire starter in a trade, fully evolved, for his Raikou, and he managed to snag a shiny Magikarp, level 19, in the Chesapeake Bay, which he evolved quick to his Shred Gyarados. It's supposed to be a pun on Red Gyarados? But I don't know what he means by Shred Gyarados. I think I'm just missing something. Anyhow, after getting his Quickville badge in early January 2003, he had earned Giovanni's respect, more so than how Silver in Johto had tried to. Silver is canonically Giovanni's son, so Giovanni likes Natesurk more than his own son. Natesurk got promotes with his Team Rocket group and was top tier and high rank above to be his group's leader. I'll leave y'all with that for inspiration for helping with Natesurk's Spotlight book stories. Come on, he's gonna leave us on a cliffhanger there? Kel didn't even fight Natesurk yet. But try thy best not to fall into arrogance from that. Stay very well in holy light power, everyone, with strong faith and fortitude. Our eventual return to the Sonichu Temple is foreseen, prophesized, and foreknown, yet the exact day and how specifically remains consciously unknown to all. Where we physically sit may seem dark. We keep the faith, despite some despair. We shall be returned to the light of thy compassion and be together in greater immortality, alive, stead. As our light inspires and enlightens further, we continue to pray for and bring the better lives and improved health, extended lifetime, endurance, fortitude, divine protection, and divine blessings in neo-spirituality and greatest enlightenment, living and coexisting the individuals and characters ye had viewed as cartoon and fictional. We all art as real, alive, and physically existent as ye all art. We art excited to be free and with ye all once again. It is very good. Be safe and well with love and compassion. Mrs. Jesus Christine Weston Chandler Sonichu. See, that was almost like a fun short story. I did a whole series on my channel where I took Chris's old short stories and, like, did very basic animations to them while I narrated. And I would have loved to just, like, taken this letter apart and done that to the Kel and Nature story. But he's got to add in all the these and the thous and the yees and the arts. It's just exhausting. Alright, so after Kenneth uploaded that letter, people complained that the Kiwi farms were stealing all of their good leaks. The fact that the information was posted on their website first is obviously a big thing of pride for some reason. So they were able to convince Kenneth to put a Big Onion Farms watermark over Chris's future letters. So this next letter, which is addressed to Helena, has a Big Onion Farms watermark in the background, and that's the only version that exists online. Alright, so this one was also written on August 2nd. Keep in mind, Helena has not written to Chris since the last time that Chris wrote to Helena. Also, it looks like there's going to be some redacted parts of this letter. Alright, do not share this letter with the online public. That's a good start. Hey Helena, we haven't heard from ye in quite a while. We pray thou art safe, healthy, and well in continued good stead. Stead. We've just received Redacted's latest letter. Gotta conserve at this point, so we'll answer Redacted's questions, and thou may relay this to him. Probably means conserve paper, because he has to actually buy the paper himself. So he's gonna answer Redacted's questions in the same letter he's writing to Helena. But Helena, we are looking forward to thy next letter and appreciate ye. Redacted, we art not allowed to discuss specific case details with the public. We never had directly stated she had moved out. I'm guessing the she is Barb. So Chris never stated that Barb had moved out. It was a foreknown prophetic detail / possibility. See, that's something I brought up a couple times, that whenever Chris refers to something that's happening outside the jail, it's probably just because he believes it's true because of his astral projection and visions into the future. There's a lot of speculation that Barb had moved out, but no, it looks like that was just Chris making things up. But last checked, our healing and cleansing powers hath worked better than foreknown. Otherwise, she'd be dead by now. The preliminary hearing has been waived. We never stated hatred towards Noel, but we are not fond of him. Noel did the same as Judas, and followed his script. He was to betray anyhow. Otherwise, we would not have had our reawakening and revelations along with the other manifestations happenings right now and over the past year. There was absolutely no impressing anyone. So Chris is claiming he never said he hated Noel, even though we called him Judas. I also must say, in a recent letter, Chris said that the reason he was not in, like, a mental hospital right now, even though he was supposed to be at one, is because they ran out of room, so they sent him back to jail. And if that's not another allegory for Jesus, because there was no more room at the inn, except for in this case it's Chris, so there's no more room in the psych ward, then, like, I don't know what is. There was absolutely no impressing anyone, and we were not gaining anything other than confirmation of events and following the divine plan. So I'm guessing that the question that was asked of Chris was whether or not he was trying to impress Bella. These tests were to confirm the eventual, who would mainly betray. Dylan was tested as well with the lie, for Taylor was still determining rather or not to stay with him due to his revealed off and on abuse of her. So Taylor was Dylan's girlfriend, and they broke up shortly after the whole Chris arrest thing, and I guess now Chris is taking credit for that because, you know, he's crazy. Given he would rat us out, he would potentially do the same to her. Final chance of redemption awaits the three of them. Again, that's Noel, Bella, and Dylan. But it is likely they will be thrown into the bottomless pit and lake of lava and brimstone along with Russia, the present-day Babylon, Putin and Trump in all that left behind work, the entirety of Russia, all of Russia. Should there be a trial, yes, this will be a chance to stand up in the past injustices on divine grounds. Yet we ask ye, was there a trial upon we, thy Lord and fellow servant God, prophesied in either Malachi or Revelations? You know, that is an interesting point, in that Jesus didn't get a trial, at least not a fair one, and they, like, bribed people to get him to not set Jesus free. So if Chris doesn't get a trial, then it proves that he is in fact Jesus. The false Mr. C's letters hath never been read, and were torn into bits and flushed down the toilet, every last scrap. I think that's a reference to a troll who was writing to Chris, pretending to be his father, and he said that he never read them. This part of the letter doesn't make any sense since we don't know what the question was, but he's telling whoever's asking the questions to contact Caden, the leader of the Praetors. With Caden, help relay the Kickstarter page he started. He's involved with the Sonichu fan project page as well. Be safe and well, both of ye. Mrs. Jesus Christ Jan Sonichu. Thankfully, the final letter that we're going to be reading today is dated August 5th, so 3 days after the last one. It's addressed directly to Kenneth, and this one is supposed to be public. Keep in mind, Kenneth has not yet sent his letter to Chris telling him that him and Helena are basically going to stop talking to him. And obviously, Chris does not know that Kenneth is publishing all these letters publicly. There's a big delay. So he's saying, "Hey Kenneth, I have another public letter for ye to share with everyone for me, please. Greetings and blessings to ye all, my followers. I write to ye all to offer some explanations and truths, for lie enlightenment and information. Firstly, I understand there hath been concerns over the language. I write/speak in talking to ye all. I know 1600s English was not spoken by I in my past book of life in Jerusalem as Jesus Christ, but the language was ancient Aramaic. Language doth not make nor break a leader, nor god or prophet. Even a priest in this present day can speak ancient Aramaic and still oust themselves as a false prophet by the metaphysical and divine events." Okay, so Chris is saying he understands that Jesus didn't speak Shakespearean English, but he's not explaining why he does. "I have gone from one country to another, and changing my spoken language, physical visage, and identity time after time again, after I left Jerusalem, after my resurrection, and up to, this does make sense, and up to in England in 1389. So Chris believes that during the time of King Arthur, that's when the universes were split, so before that, fictional characters would have existed in our world. So his point is that Jesus left Earth in 1389, which is why he talks like a Shakespearean English person. England in 1389, when the Earth was split into two and became separate from the rest of the whole universe outside Milky Way. And then I went forward through the February 2003 Chaos Rainbow, back in time, and interdimensionally, from C197 Earth half to 1218 Earth half for my second ever reincarnation into this life, consciously forgotten my extensive past and worked on authentic unconsciousness's premonitions, visions, and seer insights. To progress actively, or innately as I did, I took to the English of King James as, 1. It matched with the last spoken language some, to when I was the magician, Sylvia, back in King Arthur's neck of the woods, and 2. To get thy woke and attentive to the truths and facts I was informing ye all of. But if you insist, I'll revert back to my modern English tongue. Yes! Thank God. But the truth is still valid, just, and wholly divinely so. I have had the awakenings, enlightenments, revelations, and so on, with heaven's and the universe's core's same light shining down upon I and my body and aura. So I did and still speak true when I tell you all I am the one avatar, Jesus Christ reincarnated, your Lord, Messiah, Savior, and God. You all should have realized that, as even in the scriptures, it states that your Lord and God shall still walk among you all as a fellow servant. Well, I'm a fellow servant among you, and I have the first-person real player one perspective, seer ability, and powers of holy light power. The math equation is simple and direct. Chris is saying that he's God because he's both just a regular fella, but he's also the only real person because he's the real player one. Second, I have long foreknown of the mortgage being reverse, but it was retained unconsciously, hence why I had healed and cleansed Barbara of her sins and regrets, and gifted her life extension by my soul bonding and healing powers, and why I had told you all to send her money to pay off the mortgage before I said anything ever of relocating her. And lastly, I know from personal experience from all of this life and before, so my interdimensional connections and encounters with the cartoon and fictional individuals and other gods and goddesses on the C197 half of Earths were real, not imaginary. And this have been fact with me before any faker or hater, including Idea Guy, ever spoke with me or got involved. Period. That is kind of true, Chris saying that he believed a lot of this stuff before the Idea Guy. He wrote it into early issues of Sonichu, that, Sonichu was real. And he even said it in some of the recorded phone calls, that these characters existed like they do in Roger Rabbit. Honestly, I think that Rick and Morty had a bigger impact on Chris's psyche than the Idea Guy did as far as that's concerned. Now, you all can and may believe or not, but before you discard faith, look outside at the rest of the world at present. A lot of these events I have foreknown and foretold, and there's an obvious one from Sonichu Book 10, the gay vaccine, of which I do not regret chronicling in such a way, but a certain monkey— No! No, he's not! A certain monkeypox has been infecting mostly gay men in recent weeks. Oh my lord. Would you not want to go back in time with the vaccine to prevent this pox from men in general? Oh my lord. So, Chris is saying that because monkeypox is mostly transferred by homosexual male sex, that we should go back in time and stop people from being gay so that we can prevent monkeypox. And don't blame the heat, blame the solar flares and solar storms every 11 years. They have been flipping axis and exposing the toxic and evil individuals by triggering everyone's minds and making even a neurotypical hypersensitive and sudden seers. Look at the events in 2011, 2000, 1989, and so on, and compare with this year. He doesn't elaborate. It's just those years. You got Skyrim, and Y2K, and Taylor Swift was born. I have been further awakened, in part, by this, and my powers from my body have become manifested more so and stronger. For now, I tell you all to meditate on that. Sincerely, Mrs. Jesus Christine Weston Chandler Sonichu. Postscript. Let my past, present, and future actions and manifestations I do in the divine and holy work with Emmanuel and the other gods and goddesses speak of the truths as well before shutting me up or ditching thy faith. Chris is saying we should let his actions speak for themselves. Chris slept with his mother. Anyway, before we go, I'm going to read out to you the letter that Kenneth is drafting for Chris. This is his official resignation letter from working with Chris on this project. This comes from Kenneth's Twitter. Christine, this is how it will come together. We, meaning him and Helena, are envisioning a diverse multiverse of characters. Sana-Chen and Rose-Chen will be fully integrated. I'm going to envision inclusiveness among the autism/Asperger's community, neurodiversity. I'm going to allow a high degree of autonomy in character development. And he's showing two different parallel Earths, one with the Sonichu Rosechu, one with the Sana-Chen Rose-Chen, and that one's called Planet Gauss. Sonichu and Rosechu will be completely broken down and recreated from scratch. Christine, me, Eels and Eggman, and Helena were very upset over your previous letters on wishing for Barbara to kick the bucket, as well as your shady fundraiser to raise $150,000 and pushing Barbara into a nursing home. I can't imagine the horror of that poor woman being raped. Let's call it for it really is. Let me be perfectly frank. There will be no fundraiser by me, Eels, Helena, or Caden. Not now, not ever. Christine, you cannot be the face of Sonichu and Rosechu in the Sonichu project. You are being excommunicated and cast out. This was the consensus between me, Eels, and Helena. Kenneth Engelhart. So Kenneth put that on Twitter on August 7th, so we can assume that it'll arrive in the jail that Chris is at in the next couple days, and that Chris will respond with a letter of his own shortly. Thank you for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at GiBi_Devin for more up-to-the-minute updates.